And I'm joined by ACP Muyiwa Adejobi, who is the first public relations officer. Thank you for joining us on the program. You mentioned that the IGP has announced comprehensive security measures ahead of this election. Precisely how do these measures intend to prevent electoral violence and ensure public safety during and after the exercise?
Well, thank you, Nick. Good evening. Good evening, Nigerians. Like I always say that every election is a process. It's not a big thing. The process has been on for a very long time. The police has taken the bull by the horn to make sure we carry out threat analysis in those states, and this form the basis for our deployments to various places to make sure we have a very good and perfect electoral process in those states. Our deployment is to take care of so many things. One, to escort and guide electoral materials, to protect the INEC officials, accredited observers, both international and domestic observers, to protect all critical facilities, polling units, including, and of course, collation centers. Our deployment, again, is to take care of so many areas, considering the location of those states, covering about three states, including the riverine areas and the waterways. We have done deployment to take care of certain areas based on our threat analysis, where we have noticed that we may likely have some political issues. We have good, appreciable number of deployment done in these areas. So, our intelligence has shown us so many things, which of course I'm not expected to be rolling out some of those things on here now. But with what we have with our deployment, we are okay and we are good to go. And of course, our deployment it can be reviewed. Whether we have so number of personnel in a particular place, we can still review to increase where necessary. So whatever we are doing now is not constant, it's not permanent, it's subject to review and proper appraisal for necessary steps to be taken.
ACP Adejobi, there are concerns about potential security threats from federal might and external forces. Talk to us about how committed the police force is against being engaged in this regard.
I don't understand what you mean by federal might. In this context, it's a relative term. But whatever meaning you want to give to it, Edo State is part of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So Edo State is to enjoy federal might. So I wouldn't know the federal might you mean. But whatever it is, the federal government is interested. I'm sure you are aware that the president made a release today, calling for calm, calling for civility. So the president, as the father of the nation, has made it clear that we want peace in Edo State. So I wouldn't understand the word or the phrase federal power, federal might. We have come, and like the IGP said, that the police as an agency, the responsible institution that has been empowered by the electoral heart to carry out certain obligations and responsibilities. This we will carry out with utmost sense of excellence, professionalism, and impartiality. So whatever federal government is bringing in is to support the system, to support the process, to make sure we have free, fair, and credible elections in Edo State. So all of us who belong to this country, whether you belong to one party or the other, you are part of this government and you are to enjoy the so-called federal power of federal might. Not to oppress anybody. You are going to see that you have made adequate deployment to cater for all of this. Don't forget, because you are managing this election doesn't mean we are going to abandon our primary and statutory assignment of protection of lives and property. Patrols are ongoing. Foot patrols are ongoing. We still need to make sure that we protect our highways against the antics of these highway robbers and the like. So we have come to make sure we police Edo, we police this electoral process, and make sure there's peace in Edo State.
The IGP has implemented ban on all security aids and escorts accompanying VIPs to polling booths and collation centers. Does this apply to elected officials and appointees of government?
Yes, as a normal practice, what we do is we don't want any VIP whether you are entitled to have police guards, escorts or not, we don't want any VIP to go out on election day and intimidate voters. We don't expect any elected officials to go out with any of a large number of security aides. We always talk to our governors, ministers, prominent Nigerians to always reduce the number of aides they want to go with. But for now, IGP has said it that no VIP is expected to go out with his security guards or aides. The security arrangement we have is to protect everybody. We are not, during this election, we are not going to protect individuals, but to protect the system. So which means everybody within that system is adequately protected. Even if the governor, deputy governor want to go out, we always encourage governors where we have done these elections before, that the ABC can go, the Holy can go with him, or the chief detail or the CSO. And maximum. There is no need for us to have like 10, 7, 10, 11 vehicles, 13, 14, 15 vehicles to be moving to polling units or collation centers. So the IGP's directive is clear enough. We are even trying to withdraw all the security aids attached to them this night. The signal has gone out. And this is not only applicable to the police. We are reaching out to all our sister agencies that are involved in this deployment of aids and security guards to do the same, whether from the armed forces, the DSS, civil defense, all of them that are deploying aids, ordinary and the likes to VIPs to take note of this, that all of them within Edo State, we are going to withdraw their men for the purpose of this election. We are policing the system, and I think every individual is adequately protected.
So we hear that about 35,000 police personnel have been deployed for this election. That's minus operatives from other security forces. But talk to us about the rule of engagement of these officers in securing voting centers, particularly high-risk areas, because usually you find a single policeman per polling unit, and they're usually not armed.
Yes, they won't be harmed because that's what the law says. But we have made arrangement to make sure we give buffer and we give cover to them, those operatives that will be at the polling unit. We have done it in such a way that at least you are going to see a policeman at the polling unit to be assisted by other security agencies. And we have made it easier that all security agents that will be involved, they have been deployed per local government, per polling unit. And they have gone to report to their area commanders or their DPOs. All of them are expected to hand over their deployments, the list, to the DPO or the area commander, who will do further deployments and conveyance to polling units accordingly. We have done this, and we hope that the security arrangement, don't forget we have restriction order from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The military, so police, mobile men and others, and road safety will help us to enforce this. We want to enforce this because we believe if you have proper restriction of movement, we are almost 80% successful to the electoral process. So this is very, very important and very, very key. We have done another patrol involving mobile men, civil defense, and others that are armed. These armed patrol men will always give support to the officers or armed officers at the polling units. So our deployments and our strategies, and there are so many other things we have done that I would not reveal on here now. But with what we have on ground, every time we improve on our deployment, we improve our strategies to manage the election like this. So we have certain innovations we have put in place. And don't forget, we have dress code. We have dress codes. We have the way we are going to turn out so that we'll be able to detect if you have any fake policeman or fake security operatives. We had a meeting today. We have made arrangements. We have plans, and we have our strategies in place to make sure we checkmate certain SSCs and put things in the right perspective.
So it sounds like we're expecting police presence in all of the 4,515 or 519 polling units tomorrow.
That is the arrangement.
Yes, but I just wanted to shed, I'd like you to shed more light as to how they're expected to engage in cases of malpractice, electoral violence, and vote buying.
Let me start with the issue of vote buying. Vote buying is like a silent crime. I don't see anybody is going to pay something on his head, please come and buy votes, or I want to sell PVC. So it's something that we need to have covert operation on that. And that's why you see that EFCC and other anti-graft agencies have been incorporated to the ICS, that is ICES, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. They are part of our meeting. They are to go because they don't wear uniform. They are to go on that, carry out undercover operations to curb that. Why we do advocacy to enlighten members of the public, and that's why the civil society organizations have been involved to make sure they educate electorates not to sell their rights and not to sell their PVC or to canvass for votes. And we have told candidates and their opponents not to canvass for votes during the election. Vote buying is not something you do in a day. Before now, so many must have been influenced to vote for them. Many must have done so many things. So it's not what we go to tackle per se on election day, but it's a very dicey thing that nobody will come out to say, I want to buy votes or I want to sell votes. However, we have our first intelligence operatives that have been on ground. They are going to work with AFCC and ICPC to see how we can curb the issue of vote buying into BRS minimum. So and of course the ability of our operatives to go after certain offenses. Don't forget the Electoral Act is clear enough about it. We need to work with INEC to actually determine whether somebody has committed this offense or not, in as much as we know that we have the power to arrest. But when it comes to election security management, INEC plays that prominent role where we just give support. So our men have been trained, our INEC officials have been trained. They know how to handle any infractions or violations of the Electoral Act while the polls are on. So they have done that, and they are going to work hand in hand to see how they manage.
Well, we're going to work on reconnecting with ACP Muyiwa Adejobi. ACP, if you can hear me, we have to wrap this conversation so that we can also get to speak with the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State. But if you can in a minute, let us quickly address the issue of restriction of vehicular movement. In your press release, restriction on all forms of transportation is from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on election day, ACP. Apart from those on essential duties, are there exemptions to these restrictions in cases of emergency? And can people still enter Edo just before 6 a.m.? Well, I think that we have to continue that conversation with ACP Adejobi subsequently. We're going to take a short break now, and I'll be joined by the resident electoral commissioner in Edo State as we probe further into INEC's preparation ahead of the exercise tomorrow.